This afternoon we have Dean Carr, who's going to close the conference, coming from Oxford. Had quite a bit of Oxford influence, if you haven't noticed. Father Butler, in fact, made a rather nasty remark about another university, which Father Tony Jarvis and I are going to deal with once Father Jarvis arrives. But you should know, in addition to the many links between Portsmouth and Newman historically, there are many, there's one other which I haven't mentioned. That's our longtime associate headmaster, Jack Atchison, who came here from Appleport, was in fact converted at Oxford as a member of the Newman Club. Just another in the long and unbreakable link between Newman and Portsmouth. I'm now going to ask Father David Stokes to introduce Father Carr. Father David is a professor of theology at Providence College, the assistant pastor at St. Sebastian Parish in Providence, and an oblate of Portsmouth Abbey. Father David.
I was told to be witty, intelligent, brief. I will be brief. It has become something of a commonplace that not a few of our Cardinal Newman tend to interpret the Cardinal in their own image. By the mid-20th century, Newman would be required reading for American conservatives and liberals. Both Russell Kirk and Gary Wills, two individuals to get on, they were quick to enlist the good Cardinal in the ideological ranks that he would have found, I think, curious. Indeed, for what it's worth, when I entered the University of the South, the quotation from Newman that I did at the university, which is going by the Sydenham Handbook, convinced me that Newman was, after Robert E. Lee, the confident Southern gentleman. Such is the incredible breadth and complex depth of Newman's intellect that we tend to discover the Newman we set out to find. We tend to create Newman in our own image. The impossible challenge, though, has been to have the erudition, the wisdom, and humility to allow Newman to speak for himself. No one has ever done such erudition, wisdom, and humility than our next speaker. No one with even a superficial interest in Newman will be unfamiliar with the name of Father Ian Carr. He teaches at Oxford. He is a senior research fellow at St. Benet's Hall. Father has published 20 books on Newman, and his magisterial biography on Newman will be reissued in September by the Oxford University Press. The Path of Revival in English Literature was published in 2003, and Mere Catholicism in 2006. Not only is he prolific in his examination of the endless facets of that theological effort we call Newman, but moreover, in his writing, Father has secured for Newman an unsure place for the future century. It is difficult for me to imagine in introducing Father Carr, to imagine how he ever found time to write with equal felicity on Grand Green and Evelyn Waugh. He went out of my estimation when he wrote on Evelyn Waugh and valued the sort of honor trilogy over the kind of over-the-top rights that existed. He won my heart. Of course, the monument of Father Kirk's labor remains Dr. Newman in biography, which appeared hard to believe some 22 years ago. What makes this volume so amazing, among other things, is not only its breathtaking thoroughness, but it's the only 800-page book I've ever read that is a page turner. Father Carr also was one of the early people to realize Newman as a great English satirist, and to that we owe him good thanks. No one is equal in that. Ian Carr is neither superficial nor is he ideological in his selection and use of texts. He knows Newman's letters backwards and forwards, and what makes him absolutely wonderful is Father Carr lets Newman be Newman in his own image. It is a privilege to be able to hear him, and it is an unexpected honor to introduce him on the subject of Newman, Benedict, and the hermeneutics of continuity. Father.
Thank you, Father, for that too generous introduction. I don't believe most of what you just heard. I'm not actually going to be speaking, I think that was put into the program, I'm not actually going to speak about Benedict, but I am, of course, talking about the Newman and the hermeneutic of continuity, that phrase that we associate now with the context of Pope Benedict XVI. Newman has often been called the father of the Second Vatican Council, and it is undoubtedly true. And it is undoubtedly true that he anticipated a number of the Council's teachings. It is also true that he offers salutary corrections of misinterpretations of these conciliar texts. That is, specifically of the exaggerations of those who wish to see the Council as a revolutionary event in disruption rather than continuity with the past. Whether it is those who prefer to speak of the spirit of Vatican II rather than of the actual Council documents, or those who reject the Council as heretical or quasi-heretical. There are six of the 7 most important conciliar documents which Newman anticipated and to which I would draw special attention. But first let me say something about the other most important document, the first to be promulgated and the one which had far and away the most repercussions, the Constitution on the Liturgy. This, as is well known, stressed that the Eucharist is a summit towards which the activity of the Church is directed, and the fount from which all her power flows. But the Constitution did not in any way seek to diminish either prayer before the Blessed Sacrament in the Tabernacle or Eucharistic adoration, nor for that matter traditional devotions like the Rosary. It simply wanted to emphasize the centrality of the Eucharist, and yet notoriously after the Council, the prominence of the Tabernacle was downplayed, Eucharistic adoration discouraged or even forbidden, and Marian and other devotions rejected under hand. Nothing could have more horrified Newman, who wrote after his conversion to Rome and his discovery the Blessed Sacrament is reserved in every Catholic church. His discovery of what he called that great presence which makes the Catholic Church different from every other place in the world. Those words are taken from his first novel, Loss and Gain, published in 1848, 3 years after his conversion, which ends with the hero kneeling before the tabernacle, having attended benediction of the Blessed Sacrament, his first service, the first service that he had attended in a Catholic church. It was the same Newman, however, who ends his second novel, Callista, published in 1856, with a pre-Tridentine Mass of the 3rd century, having described the Mass in his previous novel as the greatest action that can be on earth. It is the same kind of balance, the balance between understanding the centrality of the Eucharist but not disregarding the Eucharistic adoration or devotion. It's the same kind of balance that characterizes all Newman's anticipations of the Council. Thus, for example, as an early supporter of the importance of Christian reunion and an opponent of the kind of intolerant bigotry that was commonplace in the Church before the Council, he anticipated the decree on ecumenism. However, he would be very skeptical of the widespread sanguine expectation after the Council of the reunion of Canterbury and Rome. To make, he wrote privately in a letter, the actual visible, tangible body of the Church of England Catholic will be simply to make a new creature. It would be to turn a panther into a hind.